Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Visconti Opera Master Luna. We have a Visconti Divina Desert Spring. We have a London pen company, the Christopher in Erinoid Caramel. We have a London pen company, and this is the Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and this is the Southwest. And then we have the Visconti Speakeasy. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial in the Pearl and Black. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Blue Lagoon. And we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Chiantishire. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the really stunning Visconti Opera Master, and this is the Luna. This was a Visconti exclusive with Goulet pens, and I picked this up when it was available for sale. I think actually Goulet had this a lot longer than they were expecting. It's 188 pens. I've got number 107. It's a beautiful pen. In the Opera Master style, it has a silver section, and you have an ink window. It's a double reservoir power vac, and it's got the older 23 cat palladium nibs on here. And this is a stub nib, and ooh, there's a hair there. And this is a really, really beautiful sort of pen. It has this sort of dust, this glitter dust that's all throughout that resin there. So I have this one inked up this week. The next pen is a pen I've had in my collection for a long time. Almost from the start of my collection, and this is the Visconti Divina Desert Springs. Now this came in a number of different versions. It came in the non-limited edition, which is what this one is, or the limited edition, where this band here on the body would actually be a an ink window. And the difference also is that this one has a captured converter, whereas the other one, I believe, was more of a vac filler, I think. But I've never actually seen one in person. This sports a 23 cat palladium medium nib, and I love this celluloid. This celluloid is really, really beautiful. I absolutely love this celluloid, and I love the size of the pen in my hand. Divinas are very long, and you can post the caps as well. They really, really are nice pens. So the Desert Spring, though, doesn't, because even though it's a Divina, it doesn't have the silver strips that go around these facets. And to be honest, I prefer it that way with this material. The next pen I have inked up this week is the London pen company, the Christopher. And this is in an Erinoid Caramel, and this is a really beautiful pen. And Sean at the London Pen Company sent this to me for review. I'm really, really glad that he did, because this is a beautiful pen, and I've been showcasing it on a number of my currently inked pen videos, and it's on this video as well. I just love writing with this. Sean does a really good job here in polishing this material. It's got an ebonite section. It's got a number 6 Yovo nib. It's a broad nib on this pen, and I love it. I really do like this material. This is my first pen that I've had in Erinoid, and it actually feels quite nice as well. The next pen is, again, another London Pen Company pen, and this is the Christopher in the 15. So this is Sean trying to blow everything up in a good way. And this is a massive girthy pen, and I want to show it next to really my other big girthy pen there, which is the Speakeasy. This is a girthy pen, and I like girthy pens. I like thick pens, and this is definitely a thick pen. It's made from the Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 1 material, and it's just a beautiful pen, and I love how it feels in my hand. And this has a number 6 size Bock nib. So the previous one has a Yovo nib. This has a Bock nib. I think Sean may have switched to Bock. I think he actually can provide both, but he's got a Bock nib on this pen. I'd love to see a number 8 size nib on here, but I know Bock don't do number 8 size steel nibs, at least not at the moment, as far as I understand it. So maybe Yovo. I'm not even sure if Yovo do a number 8 size steel nib. I think I heard rumours that they had one, or they were thinking of doing one. I think this would actually look a little bit better with a number 8 size nib, but I like number 6 size nibs. Most of my nibs are number 6, so although I do like the larger number 8 size nibs, I'm really at all with this pen. It's a beautiful pen. You can see this here. This material is just, if I just screw this up here, you'll see that is just beautiful. So the one thing you do need to make sure of if you're going to buy a pen with the Jonathan Brooks PM1, Primary Manipulation 1, or any of the primary manipulations or the coys, you do need to really see the pen once it's been made, because looking at the colour of the rods, by the time you have layers shaved off of the pen, you will find that the colour inside is very different to the outside. So if you want a primary manipulation material pen, I would say try and get one that has already been turned so you can see the colours there, and then you can make your decision, because those colours do change a lot, and it's nothing to do with Sean and how he makes the pen. It's just the way it is. And you do get this with a lot of materials when you're you have custom pen makers turning pens out of material that the material inside is very different in color and pattern than what it is on the outside. The next pen I have inked up this week is the Visconti. This is a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and this is the Southwest. And it's made out of a celluloid material, and this material is also made into the Speakeasy before this, also into the St. Basil as well. This is a beautiful celluloid. I love the mix, the layering of these blue and red hues. You can probably see here on the power vac knob, it's number 20 out of 28. I am having great difficulty cleaning this pen out, and I don't mean that it's hard to clean. This is a number 6 size Visconti 18 karat gold medium nib. And the reason why I'm having so much trouble cleaning this pen out is that I love how this nib writes. It writes spectacularly. And it's paired up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which is a beautiful red ink, and it matches this pen so well. And I just cannot either clean the pen out and put it into storage and go and ink up another pen, or I cannot just change the colour of the ink. I really, really, really love writing with this pen. So, and I go through phases like that. So this is one of those phases, and I'm sure probably in maybe 4 or 8 weeks' time, I probably won't have it inked up, and it will go back into storage for a few months, and then I'll be using another pen. But at the moment, this is one of those pens that I cannot put down. The next pen is this honker of a pen, and this is the Visconti Speakeasy, and it's a massive pen, both in length and in girth, and it's quite weighty as well. It's not anywhere near the heaviest pen, and you would think that this has a huge massive ink capacity, but it doesn't. And I will show you this. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos on the Speakeasy, I will show you this. And I've just cleaned it out because I'm changing inks. That is the ink capacity. And I know what you're saying. So I'm just going to ink this one back up again for this week. Why on earth does it have such a small converter? Well, the reason being, you cannot get a larger converter inside this body. And I know what you're thinking. How is that not possible? Well, the reason why it's not possible is I will show you here. If I remove this, you have the blind cap. Let me just put the cap on so I don't stab myself with a nib. You then have this cap here. And if you unscrew this, you have a compartment, a sanitized compartment of 6 milliliters for booze, hence the name Speakeasy. So this is an incredible pen, and I am actually one of these days going to go to one of the pen shows, and I'm going to take this pen with me, and I'm going to fill it with alcohol. The reason why I've never filled this with alcohol yet is that it also came with a Visconti red hip flask, which I typically do actually store a lot of alcohol in, a lot of whiskey, and typically I do find that that holds a huge amount more than this pen does. So that's the reason why I've never filled this pen, because I've just with alcohol, because I just never found the need to. But this has, as I showed you with the nib here, this is a 23 cat palladium medium nib, and I love writing with this pen. It's a super wet pen, and I do like it a lot. But it is a massive, massive pen. The next pen is a much smaller pen. This is a Parker Duofold, and it's a Centennial, and it is the Pearl and Black. And this was a pen that I've been lusting after since around 2016, and whenever I've seen this pen, they typically retail for about $500-600 in terms of dollars. I think typically I've seen them selling for around about $450 to £500, and there was no way I was going to pay that much. And I saw this at least half off, and I decided, you know what, it's used, it's not new, but I just had to go and buy it. So this comes with a number 6 size, and it is a Parker 18 karat gold nib. It's a fine nib. It's a cartridge converter, as I think all Parkers are, all modern day Parkers. But it's a lovely pen, and I like writing with it. So I have that one inked up this week again as well. Another pen I think I had inked up last week was this one, and it's the Atelier Lusso Carina, and this is in the Diamond Nebula, and this is a Mackenzie diamond cast material. So you will see this material, and it really is sparkling there. It's a beautiful material, and the name diamond cast comes from the reason behind diamond cast is that it actually has diamond dust actually infused into that resin. It comes with a brass clip, a hammered clip there. It comes with a number 6 size Jovo broad nib, which I do like. It's a cartridge converter, and I really love writing with this pen. So that pen is inked up this week again. The next pen that I have just washed out, cleaned out, and I'm going to ink up with a different colour, and you can see that I've cleaned it out because it's got some water residue there. This is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon, and it's a semi sort of transparent demonstrator. It comes with the newer style 18 karat gold Bock nibs, and this is a medium nib. Just clean that nib off there. With an ABS plastic feed. It's a power vac. It's a double reservoir as well. So if you do a lot of flying, then maybe a Homo sapiens with a double reservoir might be your cup of tea. For me though, like, I don't do a lot of flying, but I do love this pen. I do love the Visconti Homo sapien pens. They are the right size and the right weight, the right length, the right girth for my hand. Visconti, when Dante Del Vecchio was at Visconti and created this model, I honestly, truly believe he was onto a winner in that shape and size. And that's why I have so many Visconti Homo sapiens, but also so many Viscontis. They are just a pen typically that I like. The next pen I have also cleaned out is this one, and this is the Visconti Homo sapiens, and this is the Chiantishire. So this has some red wine swirls in it and some gold accents. This also has a 23 cat palladium medium nib there with an ABS plastic feed. It's a double reservoir and it's a power vac filler as well. I do like this pen a lot. I am just about to re-ink this with a different red ink. The only issue with some demonstrators is depending on the color of the ink, and typically if you're going to put a red ink in a demonstrator, you will see it tint slightly a different color and it can go cloudy. It's how ink can mix with demonstrator resins, certainly the clear resins. So this one has got a slight red tint to it. It doesn't bother me because once it's inked up, it's perfectly fine. I don't see that. So it's not something that bothers me. If I were to sell this pen, obviously it would be something that maybe a buyer would be concerned about. But typically though, most of my demonstrator pens have not been stained. The only thing that you will find is most of the time is if you're going to put a brown ink or more so a red ink, sometimes even like a purple ink in, they can stain more so than other colours. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Visconti Opera Master Luna. So we will do an ink swatch. Now this is a stub nib, so it does put down a wide line. You can see that here. So this is the Visconti Opera Master, and it's the Luna, and it is a 1.3 millimeter, and it's a 23 cat palladium stub nib. And then the ink in here is Visconti Blue, which is, I think, a really underrated blue ink. The next pen is the Visconti Divina Desert Spring. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I love how this nib writes, and this pen has always been inked up with this ink. And I've gone through several bottles of this ink. So this is the Visconti Divina, and it's the Desert Spring, and it is a medium, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Eroshizuku, and it's Satsuji. And you might be saying, well, maybe you should have put like a sandy, an orangey, a browny ink in this pen. I probably should have. But when I bought this pen back in, I think 2016 was it, I think, or 2017, I actually didn't know what ink to put in it. And I just thought, I've not tried this ink before. I put it in the pen. And the nib just flowed beautifully and wrote beautifully. And I've never had never needed to put any other ink in there. The next pen is the London pen company, the Christopher, in Erinoid Caramel. So let's do an ink swatch. And this is another ink that I don't see mentioned a lot online. This is a beautiful dark brown ink. So this is the London pen company, and it's the Christopher, and it's in Erinoid Caramel. And it is a broad, and it's a Yovo steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Chocolate. And I honestly do think this is an underrated ink. I don't see it mentioned much online, and I think it's a beautiful ink. For me, it flows really well. It's a wet ink, and I love writing with that ink. The next pen is the London Pen Company, the Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I think I did have this inked up last week as well on the Currently Inked, and I wasn't sure what ink to put in it, and I was going to change the ink out this week, but I thought, you know what, actually, let's just leave this ink in here because I am liking writing with this. So this is the London Pen Company, and it's the Christopher, and it's 15 in Primary Manipulation 1. It is a broad, and it's a not a Yovo, it's a Bock nib, but it's a steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Meadow, which is a beautiful green ink, and I think for this time of year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, sort of into the summer months, then I think this is a really lovely colour to use in a pen. Now, do you actually change inks based on seasons? I do, but not typically all the time. Like when it comes to summer, I will use a little bit more orange, a little bit more lighter green, but I don't just switch to those only colours. The next pen is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. So I think let's do an ink swatch. And this is one of those pens I said that I am having real difficulty in cleaning out, putting down, putting back into my pen drawer, because this is a pen that I love writing with. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Chatterley Luxuries, and it's the Southwest, and it's a medium 18 cat gold nib, and then the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. And I hate to say this, but this is an ink that is now no longer in production. And I also hate to say this, but I have 5 bottles of it. Yep, 5 bottles. So that is going to keep me going for a while, because a bottle, I'll show you here, the bottle holds 60 millilitres of ink. So that's 300 millilitres. The next pen is the Visconti Speakeasy. So we'll do another ink swatch. Now this is a 23 cat palladium nib. It's a lot more wetter and it's a lot more bouncier. So this is a nib that I love writing with. It's just a shame about the ink capacity. So this is a Visconti, and it's the Speakeasy. It is a medium, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here also is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. And with 5 bottles of ink, I have to use it up somehow. So having it in multiple pens can be a godsend. The next pen is the Parker Duofold Centennial in the Pearl and Black. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this is a fine nib, and I did have this inked up the other week, and I have still got it inked up. I was going to clean it out, and then I was writing a letter, and I ran out of ink. And I just, I'm going to have to refill it, because I'm halfway through the page. So I refilled it, and of course it's got another full cartridge of ink, or converter of ink again. So this is the Parker Duofold Centennial, and it's the Pearl and Black, and it's a fine, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Imperial Purple, which is a purple ink that I know most people go for, and typically I go for Majestic Purple from Diamine, but I inked this one up with Diamine Imperial Purple, and I am liking it now. You do have to be careful that the smell from the bottle is a very musty chemical smell. It smells like the ink has gone off, but it hasn't. I know a number of people, number of friends that have the ink and have it smell exactly the same way. So just bear in mind, if you do have a bottle of this and you think, oh no, that smells really bad, there's actually nothing wrong with the ink. It's just the chemical makeup of the ink. The next pen I have inked up is the Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. Let's do an ink swatch. And this is a broad nib. It's a dry ink, so you're seeing it's a little bit more dry there. This is an Atelier Lusso Carina, and it's in the Diamond Nebula. And it's a broad, and it's a steel Jovo nib. And then the ink in here is Monteverde, and it's Blueberry Muffin. Now, for me, I just don't see this as being a blueberry colour. I see this, if anything, is going to be closer to a blueberry than this is. But it's a nice colour, and I have it inked up, and it doesn't maybe match that colour of the pen too much, but like there is some sort of reddish, purplish colours, so I have that colour inked in that pen. The next pen I have inked up today is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. So I just realised it's not inked up. Let me just go and ink it up a little bit. Okay, so this is, you'll see here, a very light coloured ink. I find that this nib is a little bit more dry. Let me flush the nib a bit. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and it is the Blue Lagoon, and it is a medium 18 cat gold nib. Now this ink itself is a very dry ink, and it's Diamine Soft Mint. Now I do need to actually try a different colour ink, but every time I look at inks in my collection, I think, I'm not so sure that that ink colour matches the colour of the pen. So I do need to actually look at other ink colours and just start experimenting. More just looking at another bottle now, actually. I'm just thinking Waterman Inspired Blue actually could be a really nice colour. Or maybe Roar and Klinger Blue Mare. They're a little bit more on the bluer side than the greener side, but I think they may be a good colour. If there's any colours you think of, then let me know in the comments below. And then the last pen here is a Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Chiantishire. So let's do an ink swatch. Now this is a medium nib again, but it's a wetter nib and the ink is wetter as well. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and it's the Chiantishire. It is a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Diamine, Poppy Red. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a Visconti Opera Master Luna with a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium stub nib inked up with Visconti Blue. We have a Visconti Divina Desert Spring in a medium 23 cat palladium nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Tsuji. We have a London Pen Company, the Christopher, in an Erinoid Caramel in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Chocolate. We have a London Pen Company, the Christopher, in 15 in Primary Manipulation 1 in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Visconti Speakeasy in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. And you may be able to see a slight difference in the hue. This one's slightly brighter than this one. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial in the Pearl and Black with a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Imperial Purple. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula in a broad steel nib inked up with Monteverde Blueberry Muffin. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Soft Mint. And then we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Chiantishire in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Diamine Poppy Red. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.